Hello, my name is Scott Soretta, Director of Education for the COPD Foundation. Thank you for joining us today. This is the first lesson in a series of lessons you're about to see for the COPD Foundation's Mobile Spirometry Unit. We call it the MSU for short. This is not only a great opportunity for you as a respiratory therapist, but also for the respiratory community in general. I want to thank you again for your participation at these events. We host these throughout the United States. It really is a great way to engage in the community and increase awareness for the number 3 cause of death in America, COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. So this first lesson actually is an overview. We're going to talk very briefly about the items that you will see at the event, the screening process, the testing process, reporting the results, and engaging with the individual at the event. In each further lesson, you're going to see more specific details on each of these segments. So the mission of the MSU is first and foremost to increase public awareness of risk factors for COPD. We're going to provide the community a means for spirometry screening, and we're going to promote lung health through these engagements and community awareness events. The primary goals of the MSU is to perform screening. It's critical to understand that the MSU is not designed to diagnose COPD or any lung disease, but rather to identify abnormal tests which require further medical attention. Also through these engagements, we're going to be able to teach not only about COPD, but also about risk factors for COPD, which include tobacco use, other environmental pollutants and gases, and also about raising awareness for lung health in general. So now I'm going to talk to you about the expectations for today. First, it starts with the staff expectations. At each event you attend, it's important to identify the coordinator for the event, which could be a part of the COPD Foundation staff, or it could be a member of one of our partner sites that we work with as well. There'll also be at each event an RT lead therapist. This is the individual who will be responsible for conducting the trainings in the morning and will also be responsible for assigning breaks and managing the staff and troubleshooting through the equipment through the day. So if you have any problems or questions regarding the screening process, please identify and locate your RT lead therapist. If you have other questions about the screening process, days, hours, and so forth, please work with the coordinator of the event. These two individuals will be pointed out when you first start in that day. So next I'd like to talk to you about the expectations for the event day. We're going to identify there will be 2 different groups. There will be licensed respiratory therapists who will be working in the back station. They will be responsible for screening and testing the individuals with the spirometer. And then you're going to have another group of individuals, either volunteers or respiratory therapists, who will be working the front of the booth. These individuals will be performing the paper screeners. We call them population screeners. You're also going to be engaging in the community, asking people to come in to get the lungs tested today. So it's important to identify the rules. Those people working in the front are really responsible for the traffic into the back areas. We won't allow anybody to go into the back area unless there's a seat available and a respiratory therapist is there and ready to perform the testing. So we address the expectations for the staff. The next thing to discuss is the expectations for the participants at the event. We're going to identify 2 groups of volunteers that assist in these MSU events. There will be licensed respiratory therapists who will be working in the back stations performing spirometry testing. Then we'll have another group of individuals who will be designated to the front. These individuals will be responsible for engaging in the audience and traffic flow from the front into the spirometry testing area in the back. So I want to first start off by talking about the front spirometry the screening process. The first thing we're going to do is engage the community. We're going to ask them if they want to get their lungs checked today. And we're going to do so by completing a 5-question screener, which asks 5 basic questions about you and your lungs. We use the Drive-Force COPD screener, but you may also see other forms of this screener as well. The important thing to know is regardless of what your form looks like, all 5 questions are the same. And how we score the questions will be identical. We'll discuss this further in another lesson. So we're going to engage the individual. We're going to ask them to fill out the paper screener. And then we're going to ask them if they would like to get their lungs tested today. If they agree to do so, the next step is to ask them about the exclusion criteria. When we perform spirometry screening, it's only for adults 18 and over. Anybody under the age of 18 would be excluded. Also, if there is any of these other exclusionary criteria that take place, we're going to ask the participant to look over this list. If they meet any of this criteria, they're not capable of participating in the screening process today. Once we identify the individual meets the criteria to perform screening, we're going to look into the back, recognize an RT who is ready to do testing, and then have the patient, or the participant I should say, go back with their screener form to the testing station. Once they get to the testing station, the respiratory therapist will perform ATS guideline spirometry screenings using the EZ1 NDD spirometer. We'll talk more in detail in a future lesson about how to use this machine. Once we meet criteria and we have a good quality test, we're going to record the results on the scorecard. The individual will be given the results. This tear-off sheet will be for the individual to take with them and share the results with their doctor. This is the general flow of the event that will take place. Also through this, we'll have opportunities in the front and the back to talk to patients about COPD and raise awareness. Give them a little education. We have a few pieces of brochures and materials that will be available for you guys to use and to disseminate to the public. Thank you very much. This was lesson number 1, an overview on the MSU screening protocol.